today we're going to go over how to remove a harmonic balancer and some logistics of why you want to kind of pay attention to these and look these over. It's oftentimes an overlooked component of an engine, and it definitely requires attention now and then. So at least to check it and make sure if it's still good. And I'll explain why that's important here in a bit. So if you follow me here, you'll know that I'm taking this old 94 Roller 302 5.0 engine that came out of a rolled Bronco. I'm stripping it down, switching over to carburation, and we're slamming it into my 74 F100, which is over there. So should make a pretty good truck engine. I mean, that's what it was originally designed to do. And being a roller, you know, we don't have to add any zinc. You know, it's just all around a lot better. E7 heads and whatnot. So anyway, kind of go into this harmonic balancer, which we have to get off. This is one of the things that when I get the opportunity with an engine out, I always change it. By no means is it difficult to do inside the vehicle, but you see some of the stuff you have to remove. At least take your belt off, take the pulley off. It's down by your crossmember. It's difficult. So when I have the engine out, it's just one of those things that I'm going to go ahead and do. Other things I touch are the timing chain and, you know, other various little items that are more difficult. So anyway, some of the reason you want to pay attention to your harmonic balancer is it has this rubber insert which separates this outside ring. Now over time, that insert, especially here in Iowa, will get hard and crack, and that outside piece of iron there will move and it can kind of shift, and what that does is cause vibrations through your engine. And it's oftentimes hard to tell, but if it gets really bad, you'll definitely feel a vibration in the driveline. And obviously a vibration, you know, it's hard on your crank bearings, your main bearings. It's just hard on your engine overall, and you don't want to be in that situation. So anyway, this one shows just the beginning signs of weather checking. You know, I'm sure it would be fine, but again, we have the engine out. It's only a few bucks to change these, so we're gonna just change it while I have the opportunity. So some of the things you'll need, obviously, your sockets. You're going to pull this pulley off. You need a harmonic balancer puller kit, which you can get from O'Reilly's, essentially free. You just rent it and return it. So you know, I got an impact gun here with me, and you know, you don't necessarily need that, but if you're using just wrenches, the engine's going to want to turn, as you can see there. So you can always kind of throw a few of the flywheel bolts in and dog it, but if you have an impact gun, which most people do this day and age, and finally this year I moved into the modern day where I have one. So we're just going to get on here and zip this off and get moving right along and get this harmonic balancer pulled off of here. Alright, we're just going to zip our 4 pulley bolts off really quick. And again, with an impact, it's a lot nicer. Because for one, it's faster, clearly, but for two, it doesn't want to turn the engine over when you're doing it. So that pulley was stuck on there pretty good. Again, this has been on here since 1994, so everything's pretty, you know, rusted on. Again, I'm in Iowa, so there's a lot of salt on the roads. You don't want to go necessarily beating on your pulley if it is stuck. I tapped it off for that last little bit there, but you want to mostly pry on it if you can. So I got it most of the way prying on it, broke it loose, and then I just gave it a quick shot tap to knock it off. Again, you don't want to pry off necessarily your water pump if you plan to reuse your water pump, because you have a good chance of breaking it. You know, it's just real thin aluminum right there. So anyway, pulley's off, and we can move to pulling our harmonic balancer out here. Now, what we need to do is get our impact in here, and this is where the impact's really going to shine, and pull our crank bolt out here so that we can actually use our harmonic balancer tool. And if you got a Ford, your bolt here is a 15/16. Now what I kind of like about the Ford is it uses a bigger crank bolt. So when you're assembling the engine, you want to kind of turn it over, make sure everything's good and kosher. And when you have the spark plugs in, you know, you're not going to snap that off, where the small black Chevrolet uses a little bit smaller of a bolt there. But anyway, all things considered, they're both pretty decent. But we're just going to get on here, and again, the impact shines through and that sucker's out of there. So you don't want to lose that. You want to set that aside and keep good track of it, because that's definitely a hard one to replace. All right, taking a closer look at our harmonic balancer here. Still looks decent, like I said. I'm sure it works fine currently. It's starting to disintegrate there at the top and kind of pucker out and swell up, but I'm sure it doesn't have any vibrations going through the crank of the engine just yet. But again, you know, I mentioned I'm going to do the timing chain anyway because we're at this point, and this is definitely a factory sealed engine with 130,000 miles, so I'm sure that timing chain could use the service and replacement. So naturally, we're going to replace this harmonic balancer before it would become a problem also. But again, we're already seeing some pretty good signs of wear up here, and you know, we don't want to damage the engine that we have. So we want to get the most amount of mileage we can out of it possible. So now, using our harmonic balancer puller here, they give you quite an assortment of bolts so that you can kind of hook on to wherever your pulley was located, and your main little centerpiece here that goes in, and you'll kind of draw it out. So I'll get this assembled and I'll demonstrate how it works and some of the theory behind how to use it right so you don't put things in an angle and snap things off. Now again, I mentioned that you have quite an assortment of bolts, so as we see here, a good way to tell is to take your pulley bolts here, and if your threads line up like such, then you know that this bolt here, or whatever bolt you would have, is the one that you're going to go ahead and put in your pulley bolt holes there on your harmonic balancer. Now, kind of something interesting here about the 90s and 80s Ford 302 engines with the 4 bolt holes here when you use the standard universal balancer puller is it's mostly designed for 3 bolts. So if you get in a situation like this, which several cars are like this, you want to make sure that your bolts are the same distance out that you put in, so that when you run your little collar down here, as you can see, they're exactly the same length, and it's going to pull that harmonic balancer straight out instead of trying to pull it out at an angle. So we're going to get a big wrench on this and get to cranking, and it should break that balancer loose. Hopefully, it's pretty rusted up. Break it loose and pull it right off that crankshaft. All right, so I got my breaker bar on it here. Notice I do not use an impact for this, because if I do get it slightly off center, I don't want to break anything or damage anything. So we're just going to slowly turn it, and if you have everything straight, as you can see, it's just walking that balancer right on off of that crank. So comes off pretty fast. If you got a breaker bar, it doesn't take a lot of effort here, and it should fall right off here pretty quick. Now sometimes you're going to get into a situation like this where I've pulled it all the way out, which I've done this on purpose just to demonstrate, and see we don't have our harmonic balancer all the way off. So you want to have some nuts and bolts laying around where you can just slide a larger nut that'll slide over this and then space it out so you have more room. So I'm going to get on there and do that really quick. All right, now as you see there, I spaced them out a little bit and tightened them down a little further, and now you got a little extra room, and she's going to fall right off of there. Perfect. And she's out, and we're ready to pull our timing cover off. Or if you just want to install another harmonic balancer, you just put it on and you'd torque your nut down, or you could hit it with an impact, whatever. There's a torque spec for it, so you want to probably be mindful of that. But as you see there, it's actually kind of damaged and mushy on the back, so definitely need to be replaced. Good deal.